Okay, let me know if I'm audible, everyone. There was some internet issue. I'm not able to connect my LAN cable. So temporarily, I'm using my Wi-Fi, which looks quite okay. The connection says excellent. So let's get started. I know we are late by 5 minutes, but here we go. We are going to talk about two different things today. We'll start with the concept of inheritance, and then we'll move towards polymorphism. Okay. So this is day 9 for our live sessions. We have few more sessions to go. I was thinking everything will be done in first 15 days, but I think we'll be extending it. So don't worry. I will try to cover everything. Just promised. Okay, so we'll start in next 5 minutes actually. So exactly at 7:10, we are going to start with the actual topic. But before that, I just want to answer some of the questions because in the last session, I was not able to answer your question because of some issues. So here we go. Let me know the audio quality as well because I can see everything is set up properly. And okay, Varun is asking, when will the quiz start? Actually, we are not doing any more quizzes as of now because we're able to find a better solution than Menti, and that's what we have done here. Okay. So question from Hit Shah, I guess. Okay. The question is, hello, sir, I'm confused in two of your courses, full stack Java development and full stack blockchain development. So, sir, please, can you tell me which one should I choose? Okay, so basically you have two options there. You can go for Java stack or you can go for blockchain. Now, if you want to get into big companies now, and if you're looking for a profile, I mean, if you're looking for a development profile in Web2 or the enterprise market, you have an option of Java development there. If you want to get into blockchain field, which is quite exciting, you can go for the Java, the blockchain course. Okay, Ravish is asking, how is your mouth pain? It's session. The moment I started the session, it started paining. Maybe I was not talking for 2 hours before the session. I've not realized there is a tooth pain. So that was the issue. Okay, Prasanta is asking, in Java full stack, which version of Java we are going to use? As of now, the plan is to use Java 11, but then we might also, in fact, we are going to focus on Java 8 version actually, but then the features will be coming out from all the Java version. In fact, every with new version, you get some new features, but not every feature is useful for your current project, or maybe not every project is that important. Every feature is not important. So we are going to focus on the important features, which will help you as a developer. Okay. Ashish is asking, no quiz today? No, there's no quiz today. Okay, when the course will be starting. So for that, you have to go to the page. So you will find the link in description, one for the Java course and one for the blockchain course, and the date is mentioned there. Okay. If there's something wrong with the internet. Okay, it was buffering, but tell me now, is it still buffering or are there any issues? Okay, Ankita is asking, is Java 17 is okay for the full stack? Of course. Network issue. Okay, Hate is asking, is lifetime access for the courses for only 6 months? The recording will be available for the lifetime, don't worry. Okay, now it's good. Okay. Okay, cool. So it is 7:10, and now let's get started with the topic. Okay, so let's start with the, okay, but first we have to start the recording because I forgot to do that in the last session. It was started later. Awesome. So here we go. We are starting the topic. So let me share my screen, and I can't I'm not sure if you can see my face there. Okay, cool. So here we go, everyone. Let's start with the topic. So today we are going to talk about polymorphism and we are going to talk about inheritance, right? So we'll start with inheritance first. The topic for today is inheritance. Now, basically, let's understand why do we need inheritance. And for that, let me just go for a different example this time. So no more alien, let's go for a different class. So let me just close this tab here. Let me just close this tab, which is alien tab. And now we got a default code here. Let me remove this part as well. Let's only focus on the main method. Okay, accident says एक बार hello world बोल दो. Sorry, hello alien. So welcome back, aliens. Let's start with this session on Java. I hope that works. And here we go. Okay, so basically this is your Java code, right? And this is your project. So what you're going to do now is in the same project, let me create one. Okay, let me do it here itself. So let's say let me just go with a very default example. In fact, even before we start, yeah. So let's go for a different default example here, which is calculation. So let's say you want to add two numbers, you want to subtract two numbers. We can do that, right? Example, let's say if I have two values here, which is int a or maybe int num1 and num2, we have these two values here, right? We got these two variables. Now with these two variables, I want to perform multiple operations. So what I can do is I can say result is equal to. Now what operation I'm talking about? Maybe I want to add these two numbers. So I can say num1 plus num2 is that simple, right? And then, okay, I have not assigned the values to it. And that's what it is saying. You have not assigned the values. So what I can do is I can say num1 is equal to 7 and num2 is equal to 5. So we got these two values here. And then we are able to add those two values. Cool. But then instead of, and then of course you can print the output here. So and you can run this code, we will get 12. Is that simple, right? We are basically trying to say 5 plus 7, which is equal to 12. So before I start, I just want to confirm if the quality is good. Is the quality good? No? Bloody? 360p max. Okay. Is it for everyone? The quality is not good. I don't know what is wrong with the. No, it's fine. As it says, it's good in UK. Okay, so the streaming is going good from India to UK in a proper way, but not in the other part. That's weird. That's good. It's good. It's good now. Okay, awesome. So let's continue. So basically what we're doing is we are trying to add these two numbers, right? We are saying num1 plus num2, and then we are storing that output in result, and then we are printing result here. So now what I will do here is, let me just, we have done this, right? We got 12. But then think about this. In Java, whenever you want to perform operation, of course, you can use operators, right? But then it's always better to delegate your work to someone else. And that's what we do everywhere, right? So you don't do everything by yourself. You normally delegate work to other people. So let's say we have a startup. So initially you will be the only person there. So you are responsible to open the office. You're responsible to connect with the client. You're responsible to make the product. You're responsible to sell the product, and you're responsible for maintenance. And what happens is after some time you start hiring people. So maybe you will dedicate your sales job to someone else. Maybe you will dedicate your office opening and cleaning job to someone else. Maybe you will dedicate your development work to someone else. So normally what you do is you always dedicate work to someone else. In the same way here, if you can see, this code is actually performing all the operation. And as of now, this looks good. This is only single operation. But what if you have a complex operation? So in this case, what you can do is, whenever you have a complex operation, you can take it outside, or maybe you will ask someone else to do it. So in this case, what you will do is, instead of doing the calculation in your brain, you can just ask a calculator to do it for you. Example, something like this. Instead of performing the operation here, you can say, hey, I want to add these two numbers and let me pass those two values. Because if you say, hey, add two numbers, the other person will say, okay, I will do it for you, but tell me what numbers you have. So I will say, okay, I have two numbers, num1 and num2. These are the two variables you have to add. Okay, but then unfortunately, we don't have this add method. See, one way to solve that is you can create the add method here itself. Okay, so I have a question for everyone since we discussed this in the last session. So let's say I want to perform this operation which is add, and I'm calling this add method, but add method is not there. Can I create a add method inside the same class? Can I do that? Let's try. So I will say public void add, and so since we are creating a method here which is add, which is accepting two values, can you see that we are passing two values, we have to accept those two values. So here itself we can say int num1 comma int num2, because we are passing those two values, so you have to accept those two values, right? So here what we can do is we can come back here and we can say return num1 plus num2. So what we are doing is we are accepting two values here, and then we are adding those two values, then we are returning a value here. But still, you can see we are getting an error here. And of course, we have a method, right? When you have a method, why you got an error? Any guess? It's because we have talked about this, right? So whenever you have a method and you want to call that method, you need an object. So basically, you can't call add without creating an object of this class, which is project. The other option is we can simply mention, oh, okay, there's one more thing. Before we do that, there's one more thing. Since we are returning a value, you can see we are adding these two values and then we are returning it. In this case, we'll not be saying void, we'll be saying int, because we return a value. Now, when you're returning a value, you have to also mention what type of value you're returning. You're returning an integer value, a float value, a double value, or a particular object. So I'm saying, hey, I'm returning a value which is int. That's int here. But then I can't call this method without object. One way to solve this problem is make this method as static. The moment you do that, you don't need an object to call a method. You can simply use a class name. Now, luckily, there's two methods, which is the method from where you're calling this and the method itself. They both belong to the same class. In this case, there is no compulsion to use a class name. Let me repeat. If you make a variable static, or when you make a method static, you don't need object. You can directly call it. Since they are in the same class, we can directly use. You can directly mention the method name. You don't need to mention the class name. Awesome. Now what next? There is one more thing. Instead of doing, in fact, let me just run this code once. Let me verify and okay. When to use. Okay, so it says finally today I understood this, when to use static. That's the intention of this sessions, right? To make you understand when to use what. Awesome. So basically what we have is we got this method here, right? Now there is one way, but then don't you think we are doing everything in one class, which is not actually a good way? So what we'll do is, we'll not be doing this thing here. Let me create, because when you want to calculate, don't you think it's a good way to create a separate class? And we'll name this class as calc, or maybe a calculator. And in this class, I will have this method which is public int add, which will accept two values, which is int num1, int num2, and then we can return a value which is num1 plus num2. And if you can see the code, it's same, right? We have the same code here. The difference is we are not making it a static method. Of course, you can do that, I can simply say static and this will work. Okay, so I can just make this method static. Now, what's the advantage of making this method static is if I want to call add, which is in a separate, let me just put that code here side by side so that you can see what is happening. And expand the code. So basically from this project, if I want to call the add method, it's very simple. Here, you just have to mention, hey, this add method actually belongs to a class calc. Now, since they are not in a same class, we need to mention the class name. What went wrong? Not alien, but project. Yeah. So basically, if you want to call this add, just mention the class name, which is calc. Right. Okay. There's a question from Gaurav, but this method is in same class. Then why we to call it using object? No, we are not calling it, right? Before also we have not used object. Are you saying if you don't make it static, still you have to get an object? Because when you make a normal method, they are meant for the objects. Irrespective of variance, you have to get the object. Okay, so basically when you have a class, you have to mention a class name. Now, do we need to import this class? Because nowhere we are saying where this class calc is. You don't have to mention that because they belong to the same folder. When there is the same folder, you don't need to mention the path. Cool. So this is working, right? So you can make this variable, you can make this method static and then you can call it. But then I want to have multiple calculators, and that makes sense, right? In the whole world, we don't just have one calculator, because if you have only one calculator, then static method makes sense. We have multiple calculators, right? So every calculator will have a different way of doing it, depending upon the users. What if you have extra values on those stuff? So it's not a good idea to make this method as static. Most of the time, always go for non-static methods. Static methods have a some real specific use cases. So in this case, I can't say calc because now my method is not static. It is normal method. It's a non-static method. It's a normal method. So how do we call this add? And you know the answer. What you can do is we can simply create an object here of calc. So you can say calc obj, or maybe I can say c1, my reference name, and calc. Okay, and here we can say c1.add. So remember this thing, every time you have a normal object, you need to mention the object name. Okay, cool. Okay. Now once you have this, we can have extra methods as well, right? So let's say this project folder, this project file is me, and then this calc is, let's say here, who is in the chat? Let's say Pawar. Pawar is following this session from the first time. So let's go with you, Pawar. So let's say you, Pawar, you are responsible to give me calculator. So let's say I'm hiring you in my company, and then I'm saying, hey, we need a calculator. So what you will do is you will create this class, which is calc, and then you will mention this method, and your job is done, right? So you will say, hey, Naveen, I got this method, I got this class. You can simply create object of this class, and you can use the add method. I'm happy because I'm able to add two numbers. Now, after some time, Pawar says, hey, I don't want to work with you anymore. I got a different job. I'm very happy. So, Pawar left the job. But then what Pawar did is, before leaving the job, he deleted the entire code. Okay, so let's say I don't have a source code now, but what I have in my system is the class file. Remember, every time you write a Java code, you basically write a source code, right? After compilation, you get a class file. So basically, Pawar, you are able to delete the source code, but you have not deleted the class file. And I can still use the class file, because when I create the object, when I run this code, I don't need Java files. I need a class file. Okay, if that makes sense. Now let's say I got a new requirement. Now the requirement is I also want, so let's say result 1 is equal to C1 dot. I also want a subtract method. Unfortunately, if I try to do that, you can see we are getting error. We don't have a subscribe method. So what we'll do? Now maybe you will say, hey, if you don't have a subscribe method, that's completely fine. You can simply make the changes. You can take this class calc and add the method. But don't you think, remember when Pawar left the job, he actually deleted this code. I can't use this now. I can't use this class anymore. So in this case, what I will do is I will say, okay, no issue. I will hire someone else. And now this new guy will be creating a new class, let's say calc1. Or maybe we can give a different name. We can say super calculator, or maybe some different name. Alexa super calculator. I'm not able to recall the name. Maybe S calculator, or maybe let's go with calc1. Naming your classes is a different is a very difficult task. Okay, so basically you can see I'm creating a new class now, which is calc1. Now what I want is this calc1 need to have all the features. So this calc1 need to have addition and subtraction. So let's say, Neeraj, I'm hiring you now. Pawar is not working with us anymore. So Neeraj, what you will do? Will you, of course, when you create this class, which is calc1, you are responsible to add those two methods, add and subtract. So what you will do, you will type those two methods. So you will say add and int num1, comma int num2. And then I can simply say int sub, the same thing. In fact, since I'm so lazy, we'll just write the code here. So Neeraj, you are responsible to type this code once again. And subtract. Okay. So Neeraj is basically typing this code once again. And then what you will also do, Neeraj, is you will ask, hey, now we are not using calc anymore. The class name is actually calc1. And now with the help of calc1, I will be able to calculate, I'm able to call add and sub both. So if I run this code, of course, we have to print the output as well. So I will say result 1, and let's run this code. And you can see we got the output as 12 and 2. So why we got 12 is because we are adding those two numbers, and why we got 2 is because we are subtracting 7 by 5, and you can see we got the answer, which is 2. Does that make sense, everyone? So every time you want to add a new feature, we can create a new class, provided you don't have the access for the old class. But don't you think in the calc, we have this method and you have the access for the class files? So basically, when you already have a code here, then why you need to type this code once more? Can we just use that code as it is? So what we can do is, we don't need to mention this add here. We can say, hey, this is a new method which I have in my class, and take all the methods from the calc class. The way you can do that is by making the calc. Let me just do that on my writing pad here. So what we can do is, we have a calc class here. Calc has only one method, which is add, right? And then we are creating a separate class, which is calc1, right? Now what we can simply do is we can say, hey, in fact, this calc1 has one method, which is sub. So we can say this calc will get all its features from calc. So calc1 will get the features from calc, where you can say the calc is actually a parent class and the calc1 is the child class. The way it happens in the real world, so what you do is, when you have a real life, you actually get all the things from your parents. So maybe your parents have worked very hard they were able to save a lot of money in a bank. They were able to buy a lot of bank bonds. They were able to buy a lot of properties. And the moment you are born, or maybe the moment you are graduated, what you get is you get everything from them as inheritance, right? So basically, that's what we are doing here. So when I say calc1 is a child class of calc pattern class, child will get all the properties. And the concept here is we call is inheritance. Cool. Okay, so basically if calc1 wants everything from calc, what you can simply do is you can say calc1 extends calc. Our job is done. So you can see in calc1 now we have two methods, not one, we have two methods. Okay, Darshan is saying give your smartphone example in your college. I will do that. That is coming in the polymorphism. I'm waiting for that. Okay. So basically what we are doing is we are saying calc extends calc1 extends calc. So calc1 will be getting all the features from calc. Okay, and that's why you are able to call this now. So you can see we got the object of calc1, but you are able to access add and sub both. Now from where you're getting this add? You're getting this add from the calc class, and you're getting this add one. So you're getting sub from the calc1. Okay, so basically this concept is called inheritance, where you have a parent class and a child class. So child class will be getting all the features from the parent class. In fact, they have different names as well. So you can say it's a parent class, you can say it's a super class. So in this case, you can say subclass, so sub and super. Then we have one more, which is what do you call parent, super, base. We also use a base class concept. In fact, in Java, we don't use that keyword, but then if you're coming from C++, that's what you do. That's what you say, right? What is spelling of derived? Okay. Okay, there's a question from Mono Gaming, and the question is, as calc is deleted already, how can we use it? See, that's what I said, right? When you delete a calc.java, you are deleting a source file, not the class file. So I don't know if you can see here in the output. Yeah, can you see that? We also have the class files here, which is calc. So when you delete a Java, the source code is not compulsory, it will also delete the class files. Okay. Awesome. Oh, so sorry, I was not sharing my screen. So this is the file I'm talking about. So if you go to out, you can see we have the calc class file. I hope that makes sense. Okay, Arvind says, can you talk about is and has a? Yes, that's coming. Don't worry. That's right. So we can inherit from a class. So calc1 is inheriting from class from calc. So who was responsible to create calc1? I guess it was Neeraj. So calc is made by Mr. Pawar. Then Neeraj is responsible to create calc1. But then again, after some time, Neeraj says, hey, I'm done. I'm not doing this job anymore. Neeraj, you left the job. And now I want extra features. Maybe I want to say int result2 is equal to calc1 dot multiply. I want to multiply two numbers. And I will say num1 comma num2. Unfortunately, in C1, we don't have a method which is multiplication. So what should I do? Of course, I could have added that method inside calc1, but again, I don't have a source code. See, when I say we don't have a source code, that's what we are doing inheritance. I'm just giving you an example. Basically, sometime when you design a project, you purposefully create designs. You say this is a parent class, this is a subclass, again you have a subclass. So it's not just about deleting a file. There are a lot of use cases where you intentionally create subclasses. And we'll discuss that later. When should we create subclasses and how to do that? Currently, I'm just trying to explain you how do we extend the features. So now what I will do is I will just go back to my code and let me create one more file. Right click, new Java file, and let's call this as, okay, someone mentioned ultra cal. Okay, now this ultra cal will have the method which is public int multiplication, and it will have int num1 comma int num2, and here you can say return num1 into num2. Simple, right? So basically you're returning a value. But don't you think, of course, this time we have to, instead of creating object of calc1, we can create object of calc ultra calculator and ultra calculator. And you can see you will be able to call all the methods. Unfortunately, we are getting error for add and sub. So what should be the solution here? Okay, so solution is very simple. You simply say extends calc1 because you're not getting all the features from calc1. So if you see the structure, what we have done now is very simple. You basically got a calc, then it is getting extended by calc1, and then it is getting extended by ultra calc. Okay. Now, whenever you have a single level, so let's say if we talk about only calc and calc1, we normally call it as a single level inheritance. But when you have multiple levels, this is called multi-level inheritance. I don't know if you can see that. So basically this is when you have only two classes, this is single level, and here on this side we have multi-level inheritance. Does that make sense, everyone? Uday Kumar is asking, do we have the microservices playlist in my YouTube channel? As of now, no. There is no microservices playlist, but we have that in our course which we are launching. Okay, now that makes sense, right? Now, in general, when you talk about inheritance, we have multiple structure here. So if in general, when you talk about inheritance, we have multiple types. So basically, I'm talking about in general, okay, not specific to Java. So we basically have single level inheritance. Then we have multi-level inheritance. And then we have multiple inheritance. So we have three things. We have a single level inheritance, we have multi-level, and then we have multiple. Okay. Now in Java, only these two are supported. Okay, so I can say these two are supported. So Java does not support multiple inheritance. Now, what's the reason? To understand this, let's go for an example here. Okay, so let's say we have a class A and we have a class B. Okay, now single level is simple because it is supported. Let's talk about a structure here. So let's say we have a class C And class C says I extend class A. Okay, we can do that. So basically, in class A, let's say we have a method which is ABC, and then we have XYZ. So let's say we have these two methods in class A. Now, by default, these methods will be available in class C, right? So let's say whenever you create an object of class C by saying C obj is equal to new C, and if I try to call obj.abc, that will work. And if I try to call obj.xyz, even that will work. Now, from where you're getting these methods? You are getting these methods from A, right? Because this is single level inheritance. Now, what if there is another method which is in B, which is called PQR? Okay, so in this B class, we have a method which is PQR. And now, with the help of a C object, just a second. Okay, so let's say with the help of a C object, can I simply call obj.pqr? So everyone in the chat, tell me, will this statement work? Will it work or not? So again, this question is not specific to Java. This is in general. I'm asking in a programming terms. If I try to create object of C and if I try to call the method which is PQR, will it work? Okay, it's just that there's a delay in on the YouTube. So what I will do is let me answer that. So basically, this will not work. The reason is PQR is not a part of class C and not even a part of class A. So if you want to achieve this, there's only one way. You can extend, you can say, hey, C also inherits from B. So in general, again, I'm not talking about Java here. In general, if you say a class C extends or a class C inherits from A and B, now C will be able, I mean, this obj will be able to call all the methods. And that normally happens, right, in multiple languages. But the problem is, what if in this class B, you have one more method which is ABC? So let me repeat. In class A, we have ABC method and XYZ method. In class B, we have PQR method and ABC method. Now, when you say class C, it is extending both the class. Basically, it is inheriting both the class. Now, this is where the ambiguity problem will start. Okay, so this problem where if you try to call ABC, from which class it will call ABC? Will it call from A or will it call from B? And that's the problem you have here. So this problem is called ambiguity issue. So it's a problem basically. Okay, first of all, thank you so much, Misko, for the super chat. It's just that I can't understand the language. There's a language barrier. It's giving me the option of translating. Okay, I will translate that later. Can you help me with the translating? So yeah, so when you have one class inheriting from two classes in Java, it will create issues. And that's why the issue is called ambiguity issue or ambiguity problem. To solve this issue, Java says, okay, let's remove the concept itself. So Java has actually removed the concept of multiple inheritance, and that's why it's not supported. So if you go back to this thing, where is that? Yeah. So in Java, it only supports single level and multi-level. It does not support multiple. Yeah, that's right. Actually, this should be pointing not this side. The features are actually coming downwards. So you're correct. what it says. Some weird text. So the language is Bosnian. 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 Okay, anyway. So now let's go back to the code, and that's what in Java you will get the error example. If you create a class A and if you create a class B, and even if you keep it empty and if you say class C, and if you say class C extends A comma B, and you can see there will be an error. It will say class cannot extend multiple classes. Remember this point. Now, why it will not support? Because there's a problem called ambiguity problem, and for that Java says let's remove it. Okay, the question is how to overcome this. So whenever you design your application, see, we don't actually change everything on the go, right? Whenever you create a classes, you have to follow a design basically, and while you're designing everything. So when you're designing everything, that's what you need to do, right? You need to mention, you have to create the hierarchy in that format. And that's why it will not even support hierarchical. Awesome. Any instance which is related to multiple will not be supported. The title for this video is Inheritance and Polymorphism. You will see that in the title of the video, right? It is mentioned there. Is it mentioned the title of the video? Let me check once what it says. Oh, that's weird. Okay, I will change that. Can you change the title? Runtime, we can't do that, right? Awesome. Yeah, it's mentioned in the thumbnail, but not in a title. We'll change that. Awesome. So whenever you have this scenario where you extend something, you basically inherit and you get the features by default. Now, just to give you one more example, because that will be related afterwards. When I was in my college, I was not having any phone. So basically, whenever someone used to ask me, "Hey, which phone you have?" I used to say, first of all, I used to say I don't have a phone. But after some time, when I got this question repeatedly, I used to say, "Hey, I have Nokia 3310. That's not my phone. That's my parents' phone." And then we have this tendency, right? My parents' phone is my phone. My parents' car is my car. So I was not having a phone. My parents' phone is my phone. And I hope you remember that phone, right? Nokia 3310, the hammer phone. Yeah. So basically, that's inheritance. Awesome. Now this thing makes sense, right? So before we go for the next topic, of course, we'll talk more about inheritance after in upcoming sessions. Don't worry, it's not going anywhere. But before that, we have a point from Rizwan. Rizwan says, "I'm civil engineer after your course on Java." Oh, that's awesome. I got a placement in Accenture with good package. A good job, Rizwan. Good job. Awesome. Let me remove all these classes which is not required as of now. Close, 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 and close. Okay, updated everything, and now, okay, Mansa says it's an old example from your side. That's right. In fact, I remember when I made the Java series in 2014-15, which is still popular on YouTube. I have used the same example, right? And that's what you say, a old and gold example, which still works. Awesome. Now let's go for the another example here. What I will do now is, let me create a scenario. And the type of scenario I'm going to create here is this. Let me just do that in the same class. So what I will do is I will just go back here, or I will just take this output on this side. क्या हो गया? This is not a good place for it. Okay, anyway. What I want to do here is, what I will do now is very simple stuff. Let me go back here and let's say we have a class A. And of course, never put your class name as A and B. I'm just showing you this for the example purpose. So let's say we got these two classes, right? A simple class here. And then in this class A, I'm creating a method which is public void show. Okay. And it prints in a show. And then I'm saying this class B, okay, let me not do that. I will come back to the main method and say create the object of class B. So B obj equal to new B. So basically I'm trying to create object of B. And if I try to call the show method, it will not work. You know why it will not work? It's because the method show is not there in B class. And if I want to use it, I simply need to say extends A so that the method show will be coming in B class as well. And now if I run this code, you can see we got the output here. Okay. I just messed up the entire thing here. Anyway, you can see we got the output which is in a show. Now that works, right? But what if I want this? What if I say public void show and if I print in B show? So now tell me everyone, I will take a big pause here by the time you answer this. If I run this code, will it print in A show or in B show? Have a look. I'm creating the object of B. I'm trying to call show method. Okay. By the time you do that, let me just answer some of the question. Azim says, after watching your Python course, I got placed in TCS. Oh, that's awesome. So after my series, you're getting placed in MNCs. Good to hear that. Okay, majority of you are saying in B show, and that is correct. If I run this code, you can see it will print in B show. Now, this concept where the show method of a child class overrides, so basically it is hiding, right? It is hiding the show method of A class. This concept is called method overriding. Right? Okay, so this method is called method overriding. Now let me give an example here just to make sure that this concept stick to your mind. Again, go back to my example, where I was in my 10th standard. I was not having any phone. So every time someone used to ask me which phone I have, I used to say I have Nokia 3310. Again, not my phone, my parent phone, right? But after some months, after 1 year, I got my own phone. So now this time, and that phone was actually Motorola phone. So now if someone is asking me which phone I have, what do you think? Which phone I have now? Okay, which one I have? Is it Nokia phone or Motorola phone? I will say I have Motorola phone because my phone is actually overriding my parents' phone. So Motorola phone is overriding the Nokia phone. Right. Good. Okay, how you started preparing for coding? Okay, yeah, maybe one day we'll talk about that. Awesome. Now, if you try to do that one more, okay, there's one more thing. There's one more thing. I have a question for everyone. Think about this and answer. When I try to create an object, we say b obj equal to new b, right? Can I make this as a? Think about this. Will it work? Okay. This will work, and let me explain you why this is working. See, let me just take you to the editor here. See, what happens is, if we talk about in general in the world, we have a concept of computer, right? Now, computer is actually a word. We don't have a physical thing called computer. A computer has different definitions. A computer can be a laptop, a computer can be a desktop, and a computer can be a mobile phone. So as of now, whatever phone we are using is actually a computer, right? Now, if I want to design these classes, how will I design it? So I can simply say I have a class called computer, and of course in this class you can have, certain methods and stuff. And then we got a class called a desktop. Now, don't you think every desktop is actually a computer? So we can say desktop extends a computer. Again, that's a computer there, but I can't, since we don't have enough space. To simplify stuff, what I will do is, I will say class C. Imagine C as a computer. Then we have a desktop which extends computer. That's one class. Then we have another class which is laptop. Now even laptop extends a computer, right? And same goes for mobile phone. Now if I try to create an object now, so how do I create an object of a desktop? It's very simple. You can say desktop. In fact, the desktop is D, right? You can say D obj is equal to new D. That works, right? And of course, every class, even laptop, desktop, they have a different behavior. So here we have D obj equal to new D, right? Now, can I say, okay, how do I read this line? So I'm creating the object of a type desktop, right? So of course, the object is desktop. Can I call that desktop as a computer? So can you just say, hey, that desktop is a computer? We can say that, right? So basically, we can refer a desktop as a computer. How about laptop? Can I refer to a laptop as a computer? Yes. So basically, the laptop class and desktop class extends. They basically inherit their properties from a computer. And both of them can be called a computer. In the same way, instead of referring that with a D, we can say C. This obj is of type computer, but the implementation is a desktop. Example, let's say when you join a company as a programmer, there's only one thing you need. In fact, two things: a computer and an internet connection. Okay, so let's talk about computer. So when you join a company as a developer and you want a computer, and your company says, okay, we will give you a desktop. Are you okay with it? Of course, because that desktop is actually a computer. Let's say they give you a laptop. Will laptop work? Of course, that laptop is a computer. So that's what you're saying. So you can refer to a child class object. So let me just go a bit technical here. You can refer to a child class object with a parent class reference. So this C obj is a parent class reference. You can refer that with the help of a child class object. I mean, you can refer a child class object with the help of a parent class method. Parent class object, you know what I'm saying. I hope that makes sense. Right. Now, if you try to hide this implementation, so let's ignore that part. Don't you think this obj is of type A? Now, which obj will be called is actually depend upon the implementation. So let's say we have one more class here, which is class C extends A, and then again we have a show method, and we are saying this is in C show. So if I create object of C, the show will be calling the method of show in C, right? You can see we got in C show. So basically we got in C, when you implement, so it depends upon what type of object you are implementing. So this behavior is actually changing, right? So which method will call, that is defined at the runtime. Let me repeat. If you can pass this object from somewhere, okay, maybe in the next example, in the next session, we try to use a switch case. We can do that here, right? So we can say int I equal to 9, and I'm not sure what the value of 9, this maybe imagine this value 9 is actually coming from the user. Now in this case, if I say if, let's do that in 2 steps. I will say A is equal to null. Oh, my bad. I'm so bad at this. Okay, sorry for that. Screen not shared. So what I'm doing is I'm showing in C show. Look at this. Okay, so basically I'm showing my screen. What I did at till this point is I'm trying to say C I've created the new class C, and then it is extending A, and then we are saying show, the same method, and when you try to run this code, you can see we got int C show. What I'm doing now is I've just created this variable which is int I is equal to 9. Now you can see the screen, right? Okay. And then I'm saying A obj equal to null. So now I will check if the value of I mod 2 is equal to 0. If that's an even number, I will say obj is equal to new B, else obj is equal to new C. So look at this. I'm creating the reference of A, but the object is dependent on the value of A, of I. Imagine this value is actually coming from the user at runtime. So basically at runtime, you are deciding which object will be assigned. And depend upon which object will be assigned, the behavior of show method will change. Let me repeat. Since this value of I will be coming at the runtime, imagine that it's coming at the runtime by the user. So based on the value of I, you are defining which object will be created, and then you're calling that show based on that. Example, if I say, run this code, you can see we got in C show, but what if the value is 4? And imagine this value is coming from the user. And if you run this code, it will say in B show. So this behavior is changing. So the same object has a different behavior. So it has multiple behavior, right? So whenever you say it has multiple behavior in a different language, the same thing is called polymorphic. So it is, you can't see the screen. I'm sharing my screen. What's wrong? It's visible, right? Okay. So basically, this concept is actually changing, right? The behavior is changing. So when you have multiple behavior, we call it as a polymorphic, and that's what this concept is called, polymorphism. So the concept is called polymorphism. Okay, Arpit says, does the live sessions of Java are interactive or listen only? They are interactive. Ali says, loving your series, man. I wanted to revise some stuff, and this series was just the best. Huge thanks. Well, thank you so much, Ali. Awesome. So I hope this thing makes sense. Okay. Shri says if D has more properties than C, then can we use this property? Because that's right. So we can't do that. If if there is only five features, let me just show my screen. So let's say class C has two methods and class D has those two methods plus one, and class L has two methods plus three extra methods. If you create a reference of C, you can only call two methods. You can't call all of the methods. Okay. Now you will say, hey, that's the drawback, right? No, the thing is, when you design your application, you have to design in such a way that you're trying to achieve that hierarchical structure. And this thing will make much more sense once we go forward. Okay, don't worry. Just try to understand the concept now, and whatever questions you have, these things we'll talk about that later. Okay, Vijaya says why today you're not using aliens? It's because the examples are I wanted to keep it simple. You can't explain this with the help of alien. Of course, alien examples are coming on the way. Don't worry. So Sri says, but the object is of D, right? That's right. But then you can't call it. You can't call it. Is there a limit of how many classes we can have in multi-level? There's no limit. Okay. Does you upload the recorded video of a paid class on YouTube? There's no plan as of now, but let's see. So I hope the polymorphism concept made some sense today, and yeah, we'll continue. So don't worry, the inheritance concept, polymorphism will be coming a lot when we go for the abstraction, interfaces concept. So this will be revised there. So yeah, that's it, everyone. See you in the next session. And in fact, let me stop the recording. And it's time to take up some questions from the audience. Okay, Inspired Dancer says that need some classes on Spring REST API. Before I answer that, make sure everyone hit that like button if you enjoyed this session. That's my motivation. Okay, what was the where's that question? REST API videos are there, right? And if you want to attend live, you can join the batch. The batch starting from 9th July, it has everything from core Java, advanced part. And if you want to find the link for that batch, check the chat. Check the pop-up chat there, or pinned chat. Okay, Nagesh is saying, do you really cover all the topics in blockchain full stack you mentioned? Because it took more than half an hour to read the topics itself. That's the idea, right? I'm not sure if you can complete that everything in 6 months, but we want to teach you everything to be a developer. Okay, Mono Gaming is asking new incoming community classes after Java. Yes, I'm planning for a blockchain community classes. Awesome. Now for everyone else, if you want to explore the upcoming courses, you can just check the pinned comment or pinned chat. And currently we are running 10% discount, so you can use that as well. Again, that's for limited. So we have limited seats available for both the batches and limited time discount. Okay, Lokesh is saying, can we play Menti without any prizes? We can. Let me just see if I can arrange another session of that. So yeah, that's it from today's session, everyone. See you in the next live session, which is tomorrow, and we'll discuss some advanced topic. Bye bye, everyone. Thanks for joining, and hit that like button. Make sure